So, welcome everybody to the second episode of Electronic Talks. I'm the host, Johannes, and today we have a very special guest. That is the filmmaker Marja Bål Nango. Welcome.
Thank you, Johannes.
Very nice to have you here. I've been following your work for many years, and I think we met all the way back in 2012. In Ukraine, of all places.
Yes, at a film festival.
At a film festival, at the Kiev Film Festival, I think. And you were there with a film, right?
Actually, I was there with my own program. They had program a Marja Bål Nango section there.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was
what a privilege.
Yeah, what a privilege. I think so too. And I was quite young and I had a selection of my own films. So I thought that was amazing.
That is great.
And I also got like royal treatment at that film festival. So
they were so nice.
Yeah, they were so nice.
And the goulash was very nice as well,
Yeah, the
right?
goulash we ate was super.
Nice. So now we're about 8 years later, actually. And could you just tell to the audience a little bit about your background and how you kind of came into filmmaking in the beginning?
Yeah, sure. Like I never thought like I would. It was never a dream of mine to make films when I was a child and a teenager. But I was always like interested in everything that had something to do with the arts. Mm-hmm. Like I loved dancing when I was a little girl, and I loved like forcing my mother to transcribe my stories. I loved drawing. I loved music. So I like had the whole package already there for a film, you know, like, you know, the visuals, storytelling, but I didn't think that films was the way to go. But I got into like theater and cabarets, like comedy cabarets, when I was a teenager.
Okay,
it's a big thing where I'm from. I was in Tromsø, and there's like cabarets in every like how do you say, high school and I don't know, college. I don't know how to, like videregående.
Yeah, so kind of college theater.
Yeah, so it was like both on the, like when you're between 13 and 16, but also up to 19. So I was like a part of that scene for like, I think 7 years altogether, where like I started just with acting. And then when I got older, I was like writing sketches and also directing them.
Okay.
Yeah, and so when I was 16, me and two of my friends, we started a cabaret like from the scratch. Yeah, and we were like the main directors of that cabaret.
So were you writing and directing them?
Yeah. So directing and writing for like younger children for cabarets. But it's a big thing there in Tromsø. So it's a very like active scene, and like many people who have been part of that scene are like working as musicians now, actresses and actors and directors. So like a lot of people who are from the creative scene in Tromsø have been in that that milieu.
That's a great start. So how did you transition from theater to film? How did you get that idea?
Yeah, so it was like before I wanted to be an actress. That was like my dream when I was a teenager. But when I was directing at these cabarets, I thought it was so much more fun to direct. So I wanted to then become like a theater director. Yeah, so I applied to some schools, didn't get in. So I had like this year off school after I finished videregående, like college. How do you say it in English? But where I didn't have any job, I didn't have any plans. I was like suddenly like, oh, what do I do with my life? Everything I applied for, I didn't get in. So I like moved to my grandmother's. I lived in her attic, like
That's
attic
great.
room. Yeah, and I watched a lot of films. I was like 20 years old. I watched Twin Peaks for the first time, and I thought about like my dream of being like a theater director. And when I thought about it, all of my ideas were only films, and I tried to force like my film ideas to become like a theater play. And I was like, but why do I do that? I don't want to be a theater director, obviously. I don't, it's not inspiring me at this moment. So then I was like a little bit taken back by my sudden interest of being a film director. I was like, I have never made like a serious short film, or I never done anything with films. I've been to like some script workshops and made some films, but it was never like a main focus for me. So then I had to like start from scratch. So then I was like, I guess I have to apply to schools. And I applied for many, but only got into film history.
Okay, great. I did that too back in the days. Yeah.
So I was there in Lillehammer at film history. It was super interesting. I learned a lot. Now I'm grateful for that year, but it was very suffocating to only write and read and watch films when you want to make films.
I can understand that.
But then I applied for even more schools and got into one in Kabelvåg. It's called Nordland Film of Art College. I don't remember. It's a 2-year program in Lofoten in Norway.
Okay, so that was more practical.
Yeah, so that I got in there and had still not made like a film. So I got there and like everything started there. So was
it a directing line or was it more general?
It's like a general, but you can like choose what you want to do there, and it's like a very free school, or at least was. It's changing now, but it was very like you're free to kind of pursue what you want, but everyone has to like write and direct. But not everyone has to. For example, you don't have to be a DOP if you don't want to, and so it's So many of my films came from that period, as you have probably seen.
Yes, there's this one with a funeral.
Before she came, after he left.
Exactly. You did that during your school period?
Yeah, that was my exam film.
Okay.
Yeah. And so I went to actually Kiev Film Festival with a bunch of my school films. So there was like a program of many of my films that I made there.
Okay, so that was kind of the launch out into the international area or into filmmaking.
Yes, I'd never made a film before I went to film school. So it was like a slow burn, you can say. But when you like look at my life, you can see that I always had an interest in the creative and the arts, and you kind of have all the elements there from the get-go. But I never dreamed about being a director. Yeah, it was very important that year, like living at grandma's and not having a job or nothing to do. It was very, because then you're like scratching everything away. You like take away everything that you kind of lull your life with, and then you have to like really think, what do I want to do? Now I have nothing. What do I want to start doing?
Yeah, I think it's so easy at that age to just jump into something, jump into a job or jump into some kind of education, and you haven't really thought about it before. You just jump into that. So I think that sounds like a great period to have. Yeah,
actually, and I also applied for like actress or actor schools, and also like those that are easy to get into. I got rejected. So I think that was so like a big like how do you say, when you're when you're redirected.
Yes.
It's a blessing in disguise that I didn't got into those schools, because
maybe you couldn't see that then, but now you can see.
Yeah, totally. I was like, I would probably then I would have pursued acting, and it would take me even longer to get into films, because I think in the end I would have understood that acting is not the way for me, because I wanted to be part of the whole creative process. Yeah. So when I was acting, I wanted also to decide everything else.
Right. So
I'm kind of like
that was kind of an indication.
Yeah,
that maybe,
a little clue that maybe you should not be acting but directing.
Yes, definitely. Yeah. So you finished film school, and what happened after that?
Well, then I went to like a producing course it was like a special course made by the Sami Film Institute. In collaboration with the Göta Film in Göteborg, and also how do you say, Alla Skola in Kautokeino. It's like a collaboration between 3 institutes, you can say. Like,
okay, great.
Yeah, so then we produced a pilot for a TV series. So the main point was like getting into also the producing aspect. Yes, and I think that's also important for me that I got to see that side, because it has, of course, affected the way I view films. Yes. Also.
And you can also have that in mind when you do your directing decisions. Yeah,
totally. And also it's like helping in other areas, because after that I made a film called Hilbespiga.
Yeah, right. The one about 2 teenage girls.
Yeah.
Could you tell us a little bit about that story and why you wrote that story?
Yeah. So it was part of like a project called 7 Sami Stories, where 7 Sami film directors was making like 7 different short films that we packaged together. Yeah. So it was about 2 friends Maigon and Annesire. And Maigon, she's kind of in love with a boy who lives in Sweden.
Yeah, it's so nice, that film. It's so romantic, especially the messages that he's sending to her. I think it's just so beautiful, and you see that. Yeah, it's so innocent.
Yeah,
in
very
some ways.
innocent.
Yeah.
But also, like, I think when you are having a flirt on like social media, you can't just project the dream boy and the dream girl to each other. It's nothing is maybe based in reality even. It's like the dream of each other, and you always just project the most romantic side of yourself.
Yeah, you could definitely see that. Like he was, wearing these beautiful Sami clothing, and he was lying on these kind of reindeer cloth and all of that stuff. Like it was almost too good to be true, right?
Yeah, and she was like dreaming to like escape to him away from the stupid guys in her village.
Yeah.
So we see her that she's like trying to get to him, but they're like people who kind of feels that they're trying to stop her, and
right. So that was Hilbespiga.
Yeah, and I actually ended up like producing that film.
Okay.
Yeah,
wow.
so it like paid off,
Yeah,
what I had learned. It was not the original plan, but it ended up so.
No, I really like that story. And then you went on and you directed what next?
Then we started, me and my sister Ingrid, we have a collaboration going on. We also wrote Hilbespiga together.
All right, so you're writing together.
Yeah, so we wrote Hilbespiga together, and then we started making the tongues, actually just like a year later than Hilbespiga.
Okay.
So we started actually that project in 2015.
Wow.
Yeah, so we never like, how do you say, slow process in a way. So we started in 2015 and finished it in 2019, like 4-year span on a short film is very long.
It is, yeah.
But it was also because I had like health issues, me personally.
Yeah.
So that really slowed things down.
Of course.
But what was really nice, like having that project kind of had me like, how do you say, it made me stay connected to the film industry.
That is great.
That I had this one short film project.
Yeah, and it's such a strong film, The Tanks. I was blown away when I saw it. It's just so powerful and visual and emotional. Could you tell us a little bit more about that story and how you came about writing it?
Yeah, so The Tongues, it started actually, we were at a workshop in Imaginative in 2015. Okay. The idea was that a bunch of indigenous filmmakers from around the Arctic area were supposed to get one idea together and write one script together and then direct it in different ways. But it's very difficult to agree on one idea.
I see. So when you say indigenous filmmakers, you came from
Norway, and then we had Canadian, Greenlandic, I think Alaska, the polar areas. So me and Inge branched out of that workshop. The other one made a project together.
Yeah.
But me and Inge kind of went out of that project because we kind of changed so much of the story, and also we were slower writing. But the idea was where we started the idea process was what can you do as a human being to get exiled from a community? That was the main starting idea.
Right.
So we thought maybe that it's not that many things you can do to be exiled from a whole community.
No.
But in a way we thought in some instances women have been raped, get kind of the whole blame and get kind of exiled from a community by being raped, not a rapist.
Yeah, because it gets associated with something terrible and with a trauma.
And also why do you kind of, it's the question of guilt versus innocence, lying and not lying, who is in the right of that truth.
Yeah.
And maybe if the man who has done it has a position in the community, maybe his position is valued higher. So that was the main idea. It's not really only about that, it's a very complex artistic film now. But that was like the main idea. So that's where we started like the creative process of writing it. And what was interesting when we started, then like we had this main idea and we like started researching because we wanted to be inspired by the Sami oral storytelling.
Wow. Okay. So there's a great history of Sami oral storytelling.
Yeah. It's a very big part of our culture, and that was our main inspiration for writing it. So we started we did a lot of research. We found a lot of like interesting theses about this. So we wanted to really be inspired by that kind of storytelling, and I think that has affected the film so much. It's so different, like storytelling wise. We wanted to, because Sami storytelling is. Been like a big tradition that you tell stories to learn people's stuff and also like inspire the younger generation, scare them, educate them, raise them. And the Sami stories are quite scary and very brutal.
Just like the short film.
Yeah. So in our culture, you kind of learn children, you have to be careful in the nature, otherwise this can happen. It's like we have this kind of I don't know how to describe it, like trolls and mythical creatures.
Exactly.
And they're very like brutal in a way. They kill children, they eat people. It's very like dramatic and very, in a way, brutal. Even for children. So Sami children are raised up by very like scary stories. So we get
you were raised up with those stories?
Yeah, you get very hardened early.
Right.
So that's why it's actually so brutal. But in our language, when we tell the stories, they don't seem so brutal. We have a very like soft language.
I see. So the way the language works kind of softens the harshness of the story.
Yeah, like the word slaughter in English is very hard, slaughter.
Yeah.
In Sami is mjovan. It's softer.
Yeah, it sounds softer.
It doesn't seem like so hard. And also, for example, the word slaughter. We slaughter reindeers.
Yes.
And that's part of our life. It's not something brutal in the word or in the doing. That is a normal part of life. When you are, for example, from a reindeer herding community. Yeah. That in itself is not brutal.
It's a part of the natural way of life.
But when you put that in another context, in a story context, and put it outside our community, it suddenly becomes very brutal.
It does.
Yeah. So we read like stories that were like Sami stories written in Sami and then translated to English. And it was so different. The Sami, when we read it in Sami, it was very soft, very like, it's brutal happenings, but it doesn't seem so hard. When we read it in English, it was very like breathtaking how brutal this sounds in a different language.
Yeah.
So, and we wanted to also make the bad guy in our film, the man, to be as bad as the bad people in Sami stories, that they are only bad and there's no like redeeming qualities in him.
No.
And we wanted that to be like that in our film.
Yeah, I think there's definitely the brutality is a big element of it, and that's kind of, it's like getting a punch in the gut, and there's several places in the film when you're kind of shocked. I was a little bit shocked, like and at different places, and it starts off really shocking me as well. And it's nice hearing the kind of background to your choice of doing it that way.
Yeah. So it's also very interesting because we wanted to like be inspired by the Sami storytelling and how it like translated into film. It even became more brutal than we expected, to be honest. Because when you put something from oral to writing to a film, it's different, mediums of telling.
It is.
So, and also one of the things that inspired our storytelling was like traumas.
Yes.
It was like inspired by our personal stories about traumas. And I think also because it was a personal important story, both for me and Inger, we kind of, that's why the brutality of the traumas is so kind of impactful in the film, because it had an impact on us. So we were like driven off that trauma also.
Yes.
So I think that was a very important part of the filmmaking, that we it was a very important story to tell. And I to be honest, me and Inger had discussed it so many times. We don't think we could have made that film today.
Okay.
Because it's when we kind of made the film, it was also kind of processing that trauma.
Yeah.
And I don't think I have that energy in me. I don't think I have that energy inside of me anymore as a director. I don't think, to be honest, I don't think ever I will make a film that brutal again.
Okay, no, but because you can really feel it. There's such a strong energy in the film and such a, I don't know if I should call it anger or brutality, or it's definitely trauma related, and how to deal with trauma. And it seems like you need to have that kind of energy to make such a forceful film.
Yeah, that's so true. I really believe that it was like sadness, anger, trauma as a director also, and Ingrid, she acted the traumas. You know?
That's also so interesting. You wrote the film with your sister, and then she was acting in the film as well.
Yeah.
How did you make that decision?
Well, we actually wanted to cast other people in the film.
Yeah.
We did like castings, and first and foremost, it was like a scheduling thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was actually another woman who we wanted for that part, but it crashed. She had like another job, and we wanted to shoot it at a certain point of like winter. And then we were like left with nothing. And then we had to like think who's gonna make this film the best.
Yeah.
And we auditioned her. I auditioned her.
Okay.
And she was very intuitively connected to the project, of course, because she has been writing it.
Yeah.
And I think also in a way it was meant to be that way, because I don't think nobody could have like acted out that trauma as engaging as she did.
Yeah, you could really like. I think she's a great actress in this film, because you can really see like in her piercing eyes, like the sadness and all of the emotions, without really having to say much, which is a very hard thing to do. Like there's not so much dialogue in the film, and there's more kind of soundscapes and visual landscapes, and I think she did a great job.
Yeah, and I actually also, as a director, saw that she's actually a better actress even than what we managed to capture. I think she has also so much more inside of her, and that's not as often as you see as a director. Often you kind of squish everything you can out of an actor or actress. Yeah. And here I saw that if we had even more like time and even more like, you know, the surrounding aspects, we could have even like gotten even more out of her. But of course in a short film you have like restrictions, you know. Yeah. So maybe if that was a feature, I mean, you could have seen even more.
Definitely. Yeah. No, but I thought it's also like a great quality, and which is also very hard in short films, especially if they don't have a lot of dialogue. It felt like it passed quite quickly, you know. It worked very well with the pacing and the momentum of the film.
Yeah, I think actually the pacing and momentum is very strange, because sometimes when I watch it, it seems so slow. And sometimes I watch it, it goes so fast. Yeah. And it was so funny when we had like a screening in Tromsø at the Tromsø International Film Festival. I watched it at the cinema. Yeah. That was like the last festival we attended in person. Right. And I hadn't seen it for a long time at the cinema. So I was like totally mesmerized by our own film. I was like, wow, that went by so fast. And I, as a director, kind of saw it from the outside, and I thought, wow, I want to see more of that universe. I wanted to see a feature with that story as like an outsider, but I was, of course, inside. It was so strange feeling for me, like watching it, and was like feeling that the film went by like that.
I think that's a great point, and I think that's definitely something special about it. And for me also, like as a Swede, and I haven't gone a lot to the north or Norway, it felt like such a special world to visit, and like how you depicted the reindeers and how you depicted that whole culture, you know, it really felt authentic, you know, to me. And not like often when you see these kind of films, it can almost feel a little bit like exotic or something, like someone from the outside watching it.
Yeah, true. And also like that the film has like a very specific vibe. Yeah. You can like film in the north with the reindeers and have a totally different vibe. Yeah. But I felt that the way we made it, like only 3 actors and reindeers and nature, it kind of feels both like super wide, but also super like claustrophobic, the film. Yeah. And that is a very like tension in the whole film. It's like like this tension the whole way through.
I guess it's kind of going into her inner world so much, but then she's in these huge landscapes, and it's kind of this. It's a kind of paradox in a way.
Yeah, big paradox.
Yeah.
And that's of course what we wanted. That was our intention, but it's quite cool when you manage to get your intention there. Yeah. And I think also like both meaning you're writing it and directing it. She was also co-director, and we both acted in it.
Yes.
So I think like to make like that kind of brutal, intense film, you also have to make it with conviction.
Yeah.
We didn't want to make a brutal film. We had to make it. It was not like an intention. We want to make this raw, brutal, in your face. It was like the intention was that we have to tell this story. We just have to. And for me, it was like, I think that film changed me as a director. Mm-hmm. I think I had to make that kind of brutal, raw film to kind of get into other kind of films afterwards.
Right. So it was kind of a initiation process or something.
Yeah. And also like, and how to describe it, like when we discussed not to making it, like, I have this, should we make it or should we, before you get funding. And we discovered that when we thought about not making it, all the other ideas we had suddenly had rape in them.
Oh yeah, so it like, came back.
Yeah, it's like we have to obviously make this.
Yeah.
And we have also the same with the next film we're making. We also discussed like, should we change it? And then we discovered like the topic suddenly appeared in every other idea. So then you feel that, okay, it's not a film I want to make, it's a film I have to make. And of course there's a want aspect there too, but like feeling that you actually, there's no like fakeness in why you want to make it. It's like a real feeling of, if I don't make this film, I cannot go on.
That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that shows, and I mean, that's something that I react to very strongly in certain other films when violence or these brutal things happening is just used for effect. And it isn't really, you can see it when it's genuine or not, I think.
Yeah.
So could you tell me a little bit what's happening with the tongues now? Where is it showing? What's the future of the film?
Yeah, so this month, December 2020.
Yeah.
Is that how we say it? 2020?
Yes.
December 2020. We are screening at Leuven Short Film Festival in Belgium and Bogota Film Festival.
Excellent. Yeah. Nice.
So this year we have screened at Palm Springs, Rhode Island Film Festival, Imaginative, Holy Shorts, Puff, Leeds, and probably so many other I've forgotten.
Excellent. So that's great, like, because in some ways, especially the beginning of the year was kind of a pause when it came to film festivals, but now it's kind of kicking back again.
Yeah, totally. And also we won Best Live Action Short at Imaginative, which is a Oscar qualifying film festival.
That's great.
Yeah, so Imaginative got that Oscar qualifying stamp last year as the first indigenous film festival and only. So that's very important for the indigenous film festivals and like indigenous films. So now we have the possibility to be shortlisted. That's like the next step now. We have gotten the Oscar qualification.
Yeah.
So it will be interesting to like see if it resonates with the Academy.
Yeah. I certainly hope so. I will cross my fingers.
Yeah, I hope so too. So it goes from like, I think it's about like less than 200 short films a year that get that Oscar qualification stamp.
Yeah.
And then they like cut it down to a short list of 20.
Yeah.
Something like that. And then they go to the nominees. So it's like a long journey.
It's a long process. Yeah. And I think they put back the date for the Oscars next year as well.
Yeah,
so
that's
it's a kind of a longer process as well.
Yeah, but that's actually also why we had the possibility to submit it this year because of the delay.
Because it's going to be in like April, something like that. Yeah.
Something, I don't remember all the details, but so we'll see how. We also got some other film festivals that are not kind of released yet, but so for December it's Leuven and Bogota.
Right. And you actually also did another film in the last year, which was it called This Is Fiction 19?
Yeah, true.
Yeah. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
So that project was part of like COVID-19 time capsule project initiated by the Film Fund North and the North Norwegian Film Center.
Yeah.
So they like ordered different short films to be made in that period when the lockdown was happening in Norway.
Right.
So
So
then,
towards the beginning of the year, kind of.
yeah, it was like March, I think.
Yeah.
March, April, May. I don't.
Mhm.
Yeah, those kind of April, May, I think.
Yeah.
So so me and Ingrid made this film. We got the idea and then we shot it in a day. So it's a very different project than the Tongues. The Tongues was made during a 4-year period, and
Yeah.
this was like a day shooting and then editing for a couple of days. And that's about like alcoholic Sami lady who lives in a cabin, and she comes home and someone has like tagged on her wall, and she's get very frustrated by this, and she's also frustrated by all the restrictions that COVID has brought to her life as an alcoholic.
Yeah.
So it's like a dark comedy. It's supposed to be sad and funny.
Yeah.
That also alcoholics have like an emotional reaction to the restrictions.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's even more special is that you were working with your family again.
Yes,
Right?
yes, it's our mother who is acting
Yeah.
the alcoholic, and also English dog is also in the film.
I saw the dog. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks like a nice dog.
Yeah, it's a very cozy, nice dog. But yeah, so our mother was improvising a lot of the dialogue and the monologue, you can say, the monologue. But we had like a structure place that we wanted to follow. Because we made it very simple. It's kind of playing on the documentary style.
Yeah, it had very much a feel of documentary.
You're gazing into someone's life through the door.
Yeah.
That's also why we named it This Is Fiction, so people understand that our mother is not an alcoholic, she's acting it.
Exactly.
Yeah, so she kind of improvised a lot of what she's saying, and also we had something planned, so it's like a mix of both planned and improvisation.
What about the scene? I don't want to spoil too much, but when she's like jumping around and singing, was that improvised or was it in the script?
It's at the end, or
at the end.
Yeah, we had it was not planned before, but when we were there, it was like we have to try something for the ending.
Yeah,
and that was of course inspired by, like, I didn't know if you saw that, but it's like inspired by this Swedish boy.
I did not see that because she's saying something about it's a hard time for the ladies.
Yeah, but it's inspired by this little boy in Sweden who sings about children having a rough time.
Okay, I missed that.
It was a big thing here in Sweden. It was like
a viral thing.
Yeah, viral thing. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
I'm a really bad singer. Otherwise, I would have sung that.
Yeah.
He sings something like he sings like Covid-19 fuckar upp alla ungars liv.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it was inspired by that Swedish kid.
But that was funny. I like that in the short film. It's like, because it was kind of realistic and kind of a little bit gloomy and dark, and then it ends up with that she's like exploding or something. And
And I also thought it was kind of nice because, you know, when things happen, for example, that kid was viral here in Sweden.
Yeah.
He like went up to the mountains where we live, and it was a big hit there too.
Okay.
It was this very sweet Swedish boy who plays the drums and made this song where he yells that.
Okay.
You have to check it out.
I will
super
check it
funny.
out right after this podcast.
So we were like, of course, it's not like the exact same melody, but it's like inspired by that song.
Yeah.
That's so.
But did your mother have any? Did she act before, or?
Well, you know, our mother is an artist. She was like a very artistic person.
Yeah.
She has. I have like, how do you say? Humble brag her.
Yeah.
She's actually the designer of the Sami flag.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a really, I think it's a big thing,
Definitely.
Yeah.
When was the flag designed actually?
86.
86. So before 1986, there was no Sami flag?
No. So this is the official Sami flag that our mother has designed. It was like, a couple of years before I was born. So she was quite young actually when she designed it.
Wow.
I think she was 26.
Yeah.
It was a young artist, creative.
And just another question, just out of curiosity, like is flag used in both Norway and Sweden and other parts?
Yeah, the whole Sami. It's the official Sami flag.
Yeah.
That was like, it was like an anonymous competition.
Okay.
That they didn't know who they was like announcing as the winner. It was like the sign that won.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so it's very great, especially like she was an art student then. With a 1-year-old Ingrid.
Right.
So it's I think it was a very special, and it's a beautiful flag.
Yeah. And then going back to your short film, then so it just felt natural bringing her into your own craft in some ways.
In a way, like our parents, like our mother, she knew about the Tongues project. She was like kind of giving us feedback all the time for the film. She's very involved, to be honest, in every artistic project. When you have like artistic, analytical parents, you want their feedback, because when you are done, they gonna come with feedback. So I want to like incorporate them into the project so they don't come late. But Marja, you should have done it like this.
Exactly.
That's actually how they got incorporated in the filmmaking, because I remember when I was at school, I didn't incorporate them. And then I remember my father was like, but if you had done this in the end, it would have been better. And I was like, yeah, that's true.
That's right.
I should have asked you when I was editing it.
Exactly. And since then you
they have to like, I don't want to get that feedback later. I have to get it in the process. So me and Ingrid has always discussed that our mother should act in some film. Yeah. And she also is a very funny person. So she also has like kind of sketches at home where she says, I can act this in a film. And she's like acting out a scene. And it's also very funny when we have like more normal projects. And she's like, I remember before she read our script, The Tongues, she was like, I can be an extra in the background.
Okay.
Like, not this time. Maybe.
There's only 3 people. And
we're like, it's very weird if there's some like lady in the background in Tongues. But we were like, but you can definitely be an extra whenever you want to. So now when we're writing our feature, she's always like, I can be an extra in that scene. And then she's like, and she's not like a normal extra or a normal actress. She's very involved. She's like telling us what that scene can be about then.
Right.
And how do you say, very demanding and very like creative actress/extra.
That's nice though.
Yeah, but it's also very like comical when you're writing a feature. That she's not like a main actress or anything. Right. And she's like really getting into like, I can be in this scene. Then I can say this. And suddenly she has turned the whole scene to something else and like, maybe. But also she has like great film ideas also. We have like one idea that she has come up with that we're gonna make later. She's like super artistic and so she's natural. She's also very. We just proposed to her like, do you want to act tomorrow in a film? Yeah. And she was like, that's a totally good idea, and I can do this and I can do this. So she was like, straight away when you proposed to act, she was like, totally game on.
That's so cool, and that's so cool that you can. Be creative with your family and work with your family in that way. I don't think there's so many people that can do that. So really nice to hear. Yeah,
that's also like a process also that you kind of have to find the right balance.
Yeah.
But I think as the project goes along, it gets even smoother from project to small project.
So right now you're actually writing a feature.
Yeah, true.
And you're writing with your sister again?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, so we are writing that feature now.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the only upside of not traveling to all the film festivals, that we have that time and space to focus on that film.
So how do you collaborate? Do you talk about the idea first and then you write and then you send it to her? Or how does it work?
So we have like, we have this both kind of things going on at the same time. Yeah. Sometimes we write on distance, and sometimes we meet up and write. We discuss the scenes, and one of us writes it out.
Yeah.
So it's like very diverse. We don't have one structure of doing it, but we never sit and write together. No, that's pointless. No. Yeah. So we always like discuss. This is what we want to write. And then one of us takes the job of writing it down. Exactly. Yeah.
So that's very exciting. Yeah. It must be very different working on a feature than as opposed to the short, or?
Yeah, it's different. Like it's longer and you have to like always think about the big structure.
Yeah.
But in a way it's the same also, like how creatively you're working.
Because you've been working together for a while now.
Yeah, we have. So that's getting smoother for each project.
Yeah. Excellent.
Yeah.
So I think that's about the end. Do you have anything else you would like to mention before we end, or do you think we've covered it?
I have no idea. It's always so much to talk about. But
there is, yeah, it feels like we could talk for hours,
True.
basically. But I'm very, very happy that you could come today. So thank you for that. And hopefully we can see each other again a little bit later when the feature is more developed.
Yeah,
and
totally.
Kicking into gear.
Yeah, I wish I could tell you more about the feature, but you have to kind of keep the creative energy in a project before you start spreading it out.
You do, I agree. Sometimes sharing something too early can kind of, when it's out in the world, it's kind of not yours anymore. So I can totally respect that. So thanks so much for coming.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
And for everyone listening at home, please follow us. We're available at both YouTube as a video podcast, but also Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, and everywhere where you find podcasts. So thank you so much, and goodbye.